Here I am in front of the Throne of Want. I just beat Aldia, and because I did, I get this exit path as well. Again, you have to beat Aldia to allow the exit path. I really should have just taken the exit in my first playthrough, simply so I wouldn't have had to fight a third final boss, but whatever. Let's see what happens if we do not accept the Throne of Want. Let's see this extra ending that was not in the original base game.
There is no path. Beyond the scheme of life, beyond the reach of dawn. One could possibly await us. And yet we seek it insatiably, such as our fate.
This is interesting, and I love how he's still alive even after I beat him. I was wondering about his words once you immediately kill him, but he's just still talking. What is Aldia? Oh, there you go. There are the credits again. It is kind of interesting, though, that this almost parallels the Dark Souls 1 dark ending where you walk down the path, except here, instead of the primeval serpents rearing their heads, it's flames lighting, but then going out. Curious indeed. Ooh, baby! I beat the game and I get the illusory ring of a conqueror. Here it is. Certain equipment becomes invisible. A ring of blue stone. The stone is misshaped, however imperceptibly. Renders certain equipment invisible. Do not judge your foes by their appearance. He who approaches without a sword carries two behind his back. Whoops, you can't see my left-hand equipment anymore. But I still have it. This ring is acquired if you do a no-death run of Dark Souls 2. That said, before I start bragging too much, I wouldn't give me that much credit. This, there is no way that I was pulling this one off legitimately. I have a flash drive, or a USB drive, in my PS4, and so I transferred saves back and forth, so if I died, I would put the flash drive save back on it. I know that makes me a dirty, rotten cheater, but here's the ring. It's on this video, and like, what do you want me to do? Die late in the game and start an entire game and play through for real? I know there are some people who could do that. I'm not one of them. I just want the item. And it was hard enough to get it the cheating way. So, all I really have to do now is make my way through a third playthrough and get the last miracles and pyromancy in the game, and it'll be platinum time. Here I am in Brightstone Cove, Seldora. We only just got past the part where the guys drop boulders. I didn't show you this in my second playthrough, this is my third, but let's go ahead and take a look at a New Game Plus only thing. How cool is that? Dear Freya actually shows up early. That's fine. Okay. Apparently it actually is possible to kill her here if you really lay on the damage, which would mean I wouldn't have to do the entire next dungeon. I could just take her soul and go. Even though I didn't beat her, I think the damage actually will carry over to when I have to fight her for real. This reminds me, remember in the Forest of the Fallen Giants when I climbed on that little ledge and the pursuer showed up, and then I immediately ran away because I was not ready for that? Well, if you kill him there, then similarly he will not show up in the pursuer boss fight proper area, so that's pretty rad too. I'm in front of the Freya fight. Let's see if this paid off. It did. Marvelous. Alright, this works. So my man Boyd can take care of the small fry. And I'll take care of Freya herself if I can get away with it. I was kind of hoping to not get hit by that. At least I blocked. At least I love tapped her. It's something. It's not very good, but it's something. Oh dear. Oh, I dodged that time, right? Again, you could do better, but... Woof. Nope. Oh. I thought that was a lunge. I guess that's the lunge. That was a pathetic shot. That was one hit. Oh, I'm gonna just, yeah, tanking that is fine. That's what I don't want. That was the lunge I was afraid of the first time. If Boyd's gonna be over here, then I'll take her other side. Oh god. That's a lot of acid. Wow, Freya. She just doesn't know which side to use. There, I got something done. So much fury, for God's sake. Oh no, the babies are back. They're more dangerous than the actual boss. Guess I gotta settle for that now. Nope. I gotta say, this fight could be going better. We're obviously oh no. That's fine. This fight could have gone better, but... Uh-oh, I thought I saw it. Yup. Hey, Boyd, you want to do your job here? I'm kind of distracted. Look at this. I'm just getting nicked all over the place. Although, actually, Boyd kind of is doing his job. But I get the coup de grace. Yeah. You know... I never really did get to show you this, but if you wail on her head enough, dealing heavy damage in rapid succession, you can actually cut it off, meaning you must go to the other head. And according to a guide I checked, apparently you can cut off both heads, rendering her nearly indestructible. So you slightly want to take your time. But yeah, there you go. That was the point of this. You could actually impact Freya's health before you even properly fight her. I happen to be in the Iron Keep, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter is that my Santier Spear is not looking so good. It has 5 health left, durability, out of 500. You can see it on the lower right. So let's break this spear. Well, I mean, it's barely a spear, right? Let's see what happens if I swing it against something that can actually take the hit. Just to play it safe, because I don't feel comfortable swinging it against this guy, because it does swing very slowly, I'll retreat to this point. So I can get some cheap shots off on him. Yeah, see, he's not quite willing to go the distance. Well, my spear's still good. With one. You know what? Broke it. What happened? The chunk of rock, well, didn't come off, but it broke. So now it is called, well, still Santier Spear plus 5, I suppose. Yeah, it's still called the same thing. A spear that was embedded, it would be difficult to utilize. Yeah, it just is considered broken now, and I don't think that even a blacksmith can repair it. However, it actually functions like a spear. I can use it as an actual spear. And look at that. The health is 0 out of 500. But it still functions the way you would expect it to. So that's good. I now have an infinite durability spear. Very useful in, well, any run of Dark Souls 2 really, but especially useful if you're trying to beat the game without lighting any bonfires. I'm standing in front of Drangleic Castle, and after checking something on a wiki entry, I thought I would take a closer look. Here's the Emerald Herald in front of me, right? But one thing you may notice is that she always has one eye covered, right? So one eye, sorry, like the camera's really finicky, I have to just barely touch the stick. One eye is brown, but her hair covers her other eye. Of course she has another eye, but you kinda gotta clip through the camera to check it out. Let's see if we can do that. Oh, you saw it for a second. Yeah, her other eye's purple. Isn't that cool? She has two different colored eyes, and one of them is purple with, I don't know if the blue light at the center is some sort of camera reflection or if it's supposed to be there, but that's pretty freaking rad. I don't think I'm able to get the purple to stay there without that weird pulsing thing going on. Maybe not, but it is a pretty cool thing to see anyway. Of course, now that we've already beaten the game, we've seen that there's more to the Emerald Herald than she originally let on, but there's apparently even more. Here it is, the moment of truth. I'm in the entryway of Drangleic Castle with the Chancellor, whom I can walk through because he's a ghost.
Welcome, tell.
Buy items, nothing new. Well, there is one thing that's new. Actually, 3 things. Spells, 3 of which I can only get on a 3rd playthrough, a new game plus. Now these spells I could have otherwise gotten if I'd leveled up certain covenants, but those are either online only or the Blood Covenant, which requires a lot of tokens of spite, and there are only 1 or 2 per offline playthrough, so, no. Well, now I'm on my 3rd playthrough, so I can actually get this stuff. We have Bountiful Sunlight, a special miracle passed down through the ages. Slowly heals a great amount of HP of self and nearby allies. This miracle, once kept by the Lindelt Monastery, was stolen and never recovered. Wrath of the Gods. Miracle that releases local shockwave, staggering nearby foes and causing heavy damage. Little is known about the origins of this miracle except its shared roots with a force spell. It makes mention of certain gods, but alas, their actual names are long forgotten. And then, the Great Chaos Fireball. The Chaos Flame is said to have devoured the mother of pyromancy. Create a Chaos Flame and hurl it at foes. This special flame creates a short-lived surge of molten lava wherever it lands. Sounds like a Quelaag thing. Bountiful Sunlight is certainly from the Duke's archives, those maidens who are turned into those creepy creatures. So let's go ahead and complete this game, shall we, as far as achievements are concerned. 1 and 2 and 3. Master of Miracles. Master of Pyromancy. There it is. The Dark Soul, baby. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That certainly feels good. Boom. Did it. Now there's only really one more thing I'd like to do. That ain't bad. Well, there you go. I just beat Nishandra for the 3rd time. And what happens? There's the Throne of Want. Nope. I'm stuck here. No Aldia. It's just the Throne of Want. This is what happens when you don't use Well, I was gonna say when you don't talk to Aldia, but this was a no bonfire run, so there was no way that I was gonna talk to Aldia. Illusory Ring of the Exalted. Here we are back in Majula, with a bonfire that's not even lit. But I can light it now. Now, where were these rings? A Conqueror was for a no-death run, and the Exalted was for a no-bonfire run. A ring of yellow stone. Blue versus yellow. The stone is misshaped, however imperceptibly, renders certain equipment invisible. But the description is the same, it's blue or yellow. Do not judge your foes by their appearance. He who approaches without a sword carries two behind his back. You'll recall that the Ring of the Conqueror made invisible my left-hand piece of equipment, so, as you may expect, my right-hand piece of equipment is made invisible with the Exalted. Whoa, what are my weapons? Who's to tell? There you go. That is just about everything there is to do in Dark Souls 2. The only things I really have left to do are just for my own personal desire for accomplishment. So that's going to be trading in Nashandra's soul for the third weapon, trading in Vendrick's soul for the third. I guess it's the shield for him. I think I got both of his swords. For Nashandra, I got her bow and her scythe, so all that's left is her chime. But this is pretty much what there is to do. That's Dark Souls 2, and it was a lot of fun. Well, we have done it. We have beaten Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. And I gotta say, this game was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I have heard that it is the black sheep of the series because it's the one game not made by Miyazaki, and honestly, I get it. There were two things that really bothered me about the game, and one of them was bonfires. In the original Dark Souls, you would play a whole bunch of a level and work your way around toward what ended up being a shortcut back to a bonfire you had previously used, so progress would be easier to make the next time you come to that area. You don't have to make that long circuitous route anymore. But that's not really how it worked in Dark Souls 2. Most bonfires were simply checkpoints on a very linear path. There were only a few exceptions to this. I can think of the Forest of Fallen Giants, where you blow open a wall, and that led to a bonfire that you'd already been to. That was pretty cool. The Undead Crypt had one as well. The first bonfire was closer to the boss than the second bonfire. So there are some examples, but mostly bonfires didn't work like that, and a surprising number of them were hidden behind, well, secret walls, hidden walls, and I found that to be a little irritating. Now, I will say the DLC handled bonfires a lot more like Dark Souls 1 bonfires worked, so that was pretty nice, but the base game really just kind of had them as stepping stones, and it didn't have the same level design that Dark Souls 1 did. Dark Souls 2's difficulty was more in sheer number of enemies, which I found a little bothersome as well. You thought that boss was hard? What if we gave you, like, 4 of them? Alright. Remember Ornstein and Smog? There were 2 of them? How about the Ruined Sentinels? There are 3. And they're all the same. Dark Souls 2 had a lot of things that were the same. Speaking of which, that leads to my other complaint about the game, which is a lot of reused assets, and I don't just mean from Dark Souls 1, although there was some of that. One of the Sunken King DLC bosses was just straight up Dark Souls 1 NPCs. Alright. But my main complaint about 2 is that you would fight the same enemy types later in the game. Most notably, at least in my opinion, the Cyclops enemies. I think they're called ogres maybe, but they have one eye, whatever, Cyclops. I remember it was so difficult beating that first one in the game, and then I keep playing more, now I have a much higher level, much higher strength, I've upgraded my sword, and then I go into Aldia's Keep. Oh, a Cyclops enemy. Alright, let's go. This time I'm ready for you. But no, because it's an Aldea's Keep, which is a later area in the game, the Cyclops leveled up with me, so I don't feel like I'm getting any stronger. The enemy was hard at the beginning of the game, and he's hard now. Sure, if I went back to a Forest of the Fallen Giant Cyclops, I could beat that thing up no problem. But just the idea that I'm fighting a Cyclops later, and it still seems hard, it's just frustrating. Dark Souls 1 didn't really have that. They had crystal versions of old enemies in the Duke's Archives, but that was a visual and plot context reason for why they were stronger. So in Dark Souls, if you ever fight the same enemy type again, you would have to go back to an earlier area where they're still easy. Even if you fly back to the Undead Asylum later, those scrub enemies are nothing. It's just the boss that's tough. So Dark Souls 2, I didn't really feel like I was getting stronger as I advanced, not to mention that your weapons can only upgrade to level 10 and not 15. It felt weird. However, as for things that I really enjoyed about Dark Souls 2, I quite like the story, especially regarding Vendrick. With Gwyn, in Dark Souls 1 story runs really, really deep. It does, but pretty much all of it is acquired through lore. NPCs give you just little spots of information, and that's only if you feel like looking them up. Dark Souls 2 steers you more in a story direction, still easily skippable if you want to, but you have more of an idea of what's going on and why as you advance. And I gotta say, the first boss in the game, the last giant, who is so mad at you that he breaks out of being impaled to the ground, rips off his own arm to try to kill you. Okay, dude, geez, what did I ever do to piss you off so much? Well, when you get to endgame and play the memories of the giants, you killed their boss and helped Vendrick wipe out their race. No wonder he's so mad. That was actually a really cool retroactive reveal. I do like the storytelling in that regard, and Vendrick's pride and fall, and even what little sanity he has left in memories of the past to talk you through the DLC. But by the time you finally meet him, he's just a hollow husk of his former self. Gwyn was still a badass, but he's clearly been messed up. Vendrick is barely capable of fighting. The only reason he's tough is that he's giant and you're not, so his swings hit really hard. But he is not what he used to be, and in fact is even optional. That was a clever twist. Another thing that I really like about Dark Souls is it actually fixes Dark Souls 1's biggest weakness. In Dark Souls 1, you make it through the Asylum and to Firelink, and from there you can go anywhere you like. You could do the Catacombs early. It's really hard, but you can do it if you want, and beat the boss. You could even play Tomb of the Giants. But then you encounter Yellow Mist. You are walled off from fighting Gravelord Nito. You are similarly walled off from entering Izalith. And if you go to Anor Londo, it's more likely that you'll see this one, but you're walled off from entering the Duke's Archives. So you can go anywhere you want until you really can't. And it especially sucks in Dark Souls 1 because you just have to go all the way back to Firelink and pick a different path. That's obnoxious. Now in Dark Souls 2, a lot of bosses led to pointless dead ends, covenants at best, I didn't have to go this way. I will grant that the bosses are a lot of the flavor of the game, but it did feel weird going to dead ends. But the big advantage of Dark Souls 2 is that you really can go anywhere. The only place they block you from is the way to Drangleic Castle. What's interesting is that Dark Souls 2 is almost like Dark Souls 1 backwards. Go anywhere you want in Dark Souls 1, and when you get the Lord Vessel, now you gotta beat the big 4 bosses, then do the final boss. But in Dark Souls 2, you open with having to beat the big 4. The thing is, you don't even have to do that. Remember when I went to the Shrine of Winter and the door opened and I accessed DLC in Drangleic Castle? That was technically too early. That door is supposed to open if you light all 4 primal bonfires, and I hadn't done that. But that door can open in a different way, which I accidentally did. If you have, not on you, but if you have acquired over the course of your travels 1,000,000 souls times the number of playthroughs you're on, so New Game Plus would be 2,000,000, then the door opens. So if you really want to, you can go straight to Drangleic without lighting any of the primal bonfires. In fact, speedrunners do that. They, from the beginning of the game, go straight to the gutter, fight the Rotten, bonfire Ascetic, kill them again, and just build up souls, and then they can just go to Drangleic and follow the path as normal. And from Drangleic onward, you're no longer arbitrarily walled off. You just beat a boss, go to the next area. Beat a boss, go to the next area. Yeah, the game gets more linear from that point, but there's no yellow mist. It's really well done. You actually can go anywhere and do anything in Dark Souls 2. And as far as entering Drangleic Castle, they say you have to light the 4 primal bonfires, but all you have to do is really prove that you're skilled enough. If you light all 4 primal bonfires, you've probably played enough of the game to be able to continue. And if you've gotten 1,000,000 souls, you're probably a skilled enough player, it's fine, go right ahead. I actually really like that about Dark Souls 2. It's a very cool idea. And speaking of which, bonfire aesthetics are also cool. You can grind bosses in a single playthrough for their alternate items you can make from their souls. Except for Bendrick, he actually requires 3 playthroughs if you want to get all this stuff. But that's not required for Platinum, it's just for personal satisfaction. So bonfire aesthetics are brilliant. At first I was very nervous at the idea that enemies could eventually stop respawning if you keep killing them. But that's what bonfire aesthetics are for, and you can enter the Covenant of Champions in order to make it like Dark Souls 1, where everyone infinitely respawns on a New Game Plus 3 level or more, but you could do that if you like. But what I also found is that if you ever do permanently kill enemies, and you don't feel like bonfire aesthetic, then it's just way easier to navigate levels. Did you die to a boss and you're sick and tired of fighting your way back to him? Kill the enemies enough and you won't have to. For that reason, I think that Dark Souls 2 is actually probably the best game in the series for a beginner of the Soulsborne series. If you know nothing about this stuff going in, Dark Souls 2 might be the most user-friendly, which I think is really cool. And what's also an interesting little touch is that they're minor changes, but on New Game Plus you have some of those red enemies. There are degrees of change, along with Freya showing up a little early. I like those little touches to that. I don't think any other Souls game does actual new content in New Game Plus. So that was a pretty refreshing, I was going to say breath of fresh air, a little redundant, but you get the idea. That was pretty refreshing. So overall, I quite like this game. It's really good. I think I might still prefer Dark Souls 1, but this is a damn good game. I liked it quite a bit, and it was cool to see what the Scholar of the First Sin was, too. Alia. That was an interesting little reveal as well, who even gives you an alternate ending. So thank you very much for watching this playthrough. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed playing it. And special thanks to Desinog for the amazing title card. So, we'll see what we get to next time, and it's going to be good. Until next time, everyone.